Okay, so now time to get started on the second major component of the guitar, the neck. And as we discussed, we've got this nice piece of flamey maple to build the neck out of. I've cleaned this up with a plane, so hopefully you might be able to see that there's quite a lot of figure in this wood. So we've got the neck blank, the maple. We've got rosewood fingerboard. We've got truss rod. And we've got neck template. And that's pretty much all we're going to need for the time being. So we can put those to one side for now. So the first step is to figure out whereabouts I want this template to sit on the neck blank, just to make sure I'm getting the best out of the figure in the wood. And I'm thinking around about there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the 2 points for my centre line. And then just use a long straight edge just to strike that line in. And then I'm going to transfer that all the way around the board. Alright, so now I've got my centre line in, I'm just going to mark front and back. Because the last thing we want to do is make a left-handed neck. And with that done, I'm just going to roughly mark out around the template. This is more for reference than anything else at this stage. Okay, so the next stage is I need to figure out where I'm going to put my truss rod. So as we mentioned last time, this is the spoke wheel adjustment type truss rod, which is going to adjust from the heel. So all I need to do at this stage is to mark how far back I need to come with my route. And then that will get covered by the fingerboard. Now I've already prepped this edge up here, so this edge is dead straight and dead square to the face of the board. So we're just going to clamp this onto the bench, set the router up and start taking this material out the middle of the neck for the truss rod. Okay, so I've got the neck blank held securely in my tail vise, and now I'm just going to set the router up with a fence. And then set this to the centre line. With that set up, I'll just route out for this channel now. I'll do this in several passes, going down about 2 or 3 millimeters with each pass. Okay, so that's the truss rod in. I had to clean out the end, just square that end up to get it to sit in nicely, and I also had to make the route just a little bit wider down the heel end to accommodate the adjuster. But that's all good, happy with that. Okay, so that's the truss rod route done. Then I'll just check that what I've marked still works with the template. That's all good. And time to get this to the bandsaw and make it look a bit more like a neck. Okay, so that's the neck cut out. Also got myself a nice little offcut of that figured maple. Probably make some nice tool holders out of that or something. So the next step, get the template on this with some masking tape and super glue and get it onto the router table. Now, if life has taught me anything, it would be to not attempt to route end grain on maple necks. So to that end, I've actually sanded the heel and the end of the headstock on the disc sander off camera, just to get them pretty close to the shape that I want. And all I'm going to route is the top edge up to where it transitions in the headstock, and the bottom edge, and I will probably just do around some of this headstock area as well, just to get that closer. The rest of it, I'll just sand to how I want it. Okay, see how we've done. It's come out quite nicely. There's a little bit of fuzziness that will need to be sanded away, but no damage, and that's the main thing. Okay, so there's only a couple of little jobs to do now before we move on to the fingerboard. First of which is to thin the headstock down to some degree, and the second one is to cut the little relief into the heel that the adjuster for the truss rod is going to sit into. So I'm going to do the headstock first, and then we'll move on to the adjuster. Now the headstock It needs to be 14-ish millimeters thick, measured from the back of the headstock. So I'm just going to set this marking gauge up to a hair over 14 to give myself a little bit of leeway. And then just run a gauge line around the headstock. Now I'm not going to take this right the way back to where it should transition into the fingerboard, because obviously I'm not quite sure where the fingerboard's going to end just yet. So I'm going to kind of cut it off to there. Okay, get it onto the bandsaw. Okay, and I'm just going to whip this bit off with a handsaw. Okay, with that done, the next bit is to get the relief cut out so that we can fit this adjuster where it needs to be. So the first step in doing that is I'm just going to mark roughly where it needs to be, leaving a little bit of space around it. And now I need to knock up a quick jig so we can route that out. So I've just knocked a very quick jig up here, and it's simply one piece of wood with the appropriate size notch cut out and another piece of wood screwed onto it at 90 degrees. And I'm simply going to clamp that onto the neck in the appropriate position. Set my router up and cut it out. I'm quite annoyed that I've taken that chip out of the edge there. Nothing we can do about that now. Well, I think that's been a really productive couple of hours work there. We've basically gone from a neck blank into something that very much resembles a neck. I think we've gone as far as we can with this now until I've done some work on the fretboard. So that's what I'm going to start working on next, which means this is a really good place to kind of end this video. So hopefully that's been informative, possibly even a little bit entertaining for you. I always enjoy building necks. It's probably my favourite part of the process. The fact that it was using a truss rod type that I haven't used before as well just added to the fun this time. Next step now is to start on the fretboard, so I'll be attacking that in the next instalment. As always, thanks a lot for sparing the time to watch me mess around in my shed. It really does mean a lot to me that so many people take the time out to watch these videos, so thank you for that. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye bye.